Oh, hey, Kay, can you read this book?
No, I'm good.
I'm not really asking, it's for a segment.
Nah, no way, man.
Hey, Kay, you got some mail.
Oh, sweet. Guys. God damn it. So we went through Obama's memoir, and I gotta say, it's a pretty masterful attempt at justifying all of the controversy of the Obama administration. Whether it's drone strikes, banker bailouts, or mass deportations, it's either not Obama's fault, or if it is, he made the best decision he could with the information he had. But were these really the only choices he could have made? On page 353, Obama recounts the time he ordered the murder of 3 Somali pirates. This is a conversation in relation to his larger counterterrorism strategy against Al-Qaeda. Here he says, "But I also realized that around the world, in places like Yemen and Afghanistan, Pakistan and Iraq, the lives of millions of young men like those 3 dead Somalis, some of them boys, really, since the oldest pirate was believed to be 19. So he's admitting to knowingly killing children. So the lives of these millions of young men, like the 3 dead Somalis, had been warped and stunted by desperation, ignorance, dreams of religious glory, the violence of their surroundings, or the schemes of older men. They were dangerous, these young men, often deliberately and casually cruel. Still, in the aggregate at least, I wanted to somehow save them. Send them to school, give them a trade, drain them of the hate that had been filling their heads. If you wanted them to go to school, then stop bombing their schools. If you wanted them to go to school, stop murdering them with Predator drones. I mean, this isn't rocket science. You're the commander-in-chief of the United States military. You are quite literally the only person with the final say on these matters. Just stop ordering drone strikes." In the following paragraph, he discusses the infamous Obama kill list. The White House, too, had recognized itself to manage the terrorist threat. Each month, I chaired a meeting in the Situation Room, bringing all the intelligence agencies together to review recent developments and ensure coordination. The Bush administration had developed a ranking of terrorist targets, a kind of top 20 list, complete with photos, alias information, and vital statistics reminiscent of those on baseball cards. Generally, whenever someone on the list was killed, a new target was added, leading Rahm, that's Rahm Emanuel, to observe that Al-Qaeda's HR department must have trouble filling that number 21 slot. In fact, my hyperactive chief of staff, who'd spent enough time in Washington to know that his new liberal president couldn't afford to look soft on terrorism, was obsessed with the list, cornering those responsible for our targeting operations to find out what was taking so long when it came to locating number 10 or 14. A number of things here. First, the infamous Obama kill list he's saying is technically a creation of the Bush administration, so he has no share of the blame for that, even though he used that list during his administration. And second, Obama freely admits that a major motivation of his counterterrorism strategy is not looking soft on terrorism. So not even a page ago, he's talking about, oh, I wanted to save these kids, I want to send them to school, I wish they weren't so hateful. But not if he looks soft on terrorism. Then the kids need to die. So this next paragraph is this really bizarre ahistorical praise of George Bush, who I guess the hashtag resistance is trying to resurrect as some kind of progressive anti-Trump hero. Moreover, unlike some on the left, I'd never engaged in wholesale condemnation of the Bush administration's approach to counterterrorism. I'd seen enough of the intelligence to know that Al-Qaeda and its affiliates were continuously plotting horrific crimes against innocent people. Its members weren't amenable to negotiations or bound by the normal rules of engagement. Thwarting their plots and rooting them out was a task of extraordinary complexity. First off, you gotta love the implication here that if the left had the access to the intelligence that Obama did, then we would also support killing civilians just like the Bush administration and the Obama administration. Obama frames terrorism as a military problem, and therefore it requires military solutions. The book spends a lot of time dissecting military strategy on how to counter terrorism. Now, if you accept this framing, the problem of eliminating terrorism does become complicated. But what Obama's left-wing critics are actually asking is, why do you think people are joining groups like Al-Qaeda in the first place? This is a question Obama never answers. He tries to isolate the problem of terrorism from these genocidal wars that he contributed to. According to Obama, the rise of terrorism has nothing to do with these wars. But it was precisely these wars that destabilized so many countries and created a power vacuum that was filled by Al-Qaeda. I mean, you have to think that some of these people who joined Al-Qaeda probably weren't radicals until a US Predator drone murdered their father, or murdered their brother, or murdered their mother, or blew up their house. In the words of Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who you, Mr. Obama, accused in this book of straining for street cred, violence begets violence, hatred begets hatred, and terrorism begets terrorism. So should we be so surprised that such a terroristic drone warfare campaign would give rise to more terrorism? No, not at all. Obama never acknowledges that it's this arrogant mentality, this mentality of trying to impose America's will on the world that so many people are fighting against. And that's exactly why US counterterrorism strategy will never work. So the real takeaway here is that, like most politicians, Obama is perpetuating this myth that anti-war activists are idealistic and naive, that ending war is much harder than just withdrawing troops, and these complexities are something you could only really understand if you were the president. Now, ironically, at several points in the book, Obama brags about how, as commander-in-chief, he's the final backstop on all decisions regarding war. I mean, anyone who's taken a 10th grade civics class knows that this is one of the highest powers of the presidency. After all, when the political will to flatten a country arises, invasion becomes all but a foregone conclusion. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when and how. So if we marched into Iraq and Afghanistan with total indifference to international law or the will of the people living there, shouldn't it be just as easy to march our troops home?